This is my round 3 game from Heywood, and if you've watched the round 2 game, then which I put in the video response, then you will know how many points I'm on. And this game is a must-win game. I was meant to be playing a 1-8 ECF called Ken Gorman, but instead they got mixed up. They thought he was they didn't think he was having a bye, but he was. So instead I got someone on 0 out of 2, called Vaughan, and he was 103 ECF, and now he is 93 ECF. So there wasn't much of a difference in the match, but now there's a drastic difference of nearly 50 points. And in fact the 40-point rule comes into play for this grading. But anyway, I have black, so it's not all plain sailing. And he kicks off with e4. I play e6, d4, d5, e5, c5, and now he makes the same mistake that my website comrade did in a game of his we looked at, where he plays bishop b5 check against the French. This is very bad for 2 reasons. First of all, black's light squared bishop is stuck behind the e6 pawn and rarely gets a good active play in the advanced French. Also, because there's nothing to counteract it, because black's light squared bishop is so bad, if black's bishop is put on d3, then it is very strong. It is white's good bishop, and there's potential for sacrifices on h7 because a black knight can never come to f6 while the pawn is on e5. So that's why it is bad. White's the dark squared bishop is his bad bishop, and black's dark squared bishop is the good bishop. Another reason why it's bad. Black probably already has a small advantage after this trade that follows. Knight f3, queen b6. I mean, although the light square bishops are gone, I'm still going to play like a typical advanced French, just with that added bonus. So queen b6, putting more pressure on d4, c3, knight e7. Knight h6 is possibly interesting here, and he probably would have taken h6, which is clearly bad, because the double pawns keep a white piece out of g5, and they are not really a weakness, and the bishop against knight is very strong, especially when it's my good bishop. Knight e7. So it's also fine though, black's fine here. a4. And here I might have considered playing c4, because playing c4 is good when there isn't a white pawn on a2, because you get good control of b3, and I could like put a queen on b3 and then maneuver the knight to c6 to a5 and have a good endgame if the queens come off. Knight c6, adding even more pressure to d4. Knight a3. So white clearly wants to play knight b5 to d6 check, winning my good bishop, or I have to give up castling rights. So I play a6 and stop it. Castles, c takes d4, c takes d4, bishop e7, b3, castles, and now he goes wrong again and blunders up a pawn with knight c2, leaving b3 on 3. Rook b1 is best, because then it prepares knight c2, which he played, but the only difference is that white will not be a pawn down. And after knight c2 to e3 to g4, and that manoeuvre, white should be fine. I mean, he's blown the advantage with that dubious swap in the opening, but he should be fine here. Chances are probably about equal. But knight c2 just gives black a pawn for nothing, which I happily take. He does get a bishop g5 though, which practically forces the swap of my good bishop for his bad bishop, but this isn't worth a pawn, in my opinion. Because especially seeing as white's lost his good bishop, queen b6. I just wanted to get the queen to safety, so he attacks it and then goes rook c1. So a potential dangerous pin on the c file. It's never good to have your queen lined up with the opponent's rook. f6, a bit of a dubious decision I'd say, because e6 does become very weak, and I do play f6 to open it up a lot of times in the French, and I always seem to do it wrong. I think it's best when you've still got a light square bishop, so then e6 isn't as weak. Takes, bishop takes, knight g5. So you can see a basic plan here for white of playing queen e2 and rook e1, and now there's 3 pieces on e6, I defend it. Knight b4. So obviously the knight can't be taken because of the pin. But what I can do is play h6 and get that knight off e6. The only downside is that it's got a new weakness to hone in on. Now the f pawn's gone, there isn't a single black pawn that can hit e5, so it's an outpost for white. Queen d6, getting off that dangerous pin. And now I think white should have played knight d3, because then there is because the e5 square is white, it's not going to go anywhere. I've got no pawns to counteract it. White can put the f knight on e5 supported by the d knight, and then can play f4 to support it even further, and white will have a pleasant position. I think I'm not sure I've gone wrong here, but I think f6 was a really bad move for this reason. I should not have done that. I'll give it a question mark. My opponent, however, takes on c6, and now I've got quite a strong. The d5 point now is very strong, supported by e6 and c6. However, these two pawns are weak, and he plays knight e5, forcing rook c8. And now, if he had got queen c2, looks like it wins a pawn, but I have c5, where if he takes for the pawn, his knight hangs. So it's more like this, and I can safely guard e6. So I'm just a knight up, and because of the pieces that are on it, he can't take on c5 with the queen. And after c5, I can take on d4 next move, because I'm up a couple of pawns. It wouldn't matter if he got 2 rooks for the queen, and also his e5 knight would be hanging. Or I can push to c4 and have a protected pass pawn, and white would be in trouble here. In fact, I probably would push to c4. No, in fact, maybe take actually and undermine e5, but I would like to maybe protect the rook again. It's a tough decision. But instead he goes h4, so he wants to play h5 and secure g6 as an outpost. c5, getting rid of the weakness. h5, takes on d4, and here he probably should play queen takes d4, knight e4, knight g6, and rook fe8, preparing e5, and black is a pawn up with a decent enough position and should consolidate and win. But it would be difficult with this white knight on g6, plus white's queen central, so white would probably have to, black should try and win this by making use of the passed d pawn, and e5 and d4 would be perfect. White instead gives up the c file, another very bad strategic decision. After rook takes, he doesn't even take the pawn back and goes knight g6, after which I play e5. Black is winning now. He's 2 pawns up. He's got 3 pawns in the centre to white's none. They are going to simply steamroller white, and white will have nothing to do to stop him. All I have to be careful of is any potential attacking chances for white, but white's rook's doing nothing. The knight in g6 does look pretty, but I mean, what's it threatening? I mean, what is that knight threatening? Queen f3, preparing to maybe come into f5 with a little bit of counter play. I stopped that with queen e6, and now I'm getting ready to play. I want to play rook c3 followed by d3. White's lost here. He actually plays queen f5, which, alright, it looks quite good, because if I take his queen, he's going to win mine with a knight fork, but this just makes it easy, so I happily take him off. He's threatening to win my rook though, so I play rook c7, and now they're just going to win the game, these pawns. White could resign this, but he actually makes me play on for another 17 moves. Rook b1, d3, and if white tries to catch the pawn with king f1, then we can have d2. If king e2, then knight e4 is crushing, because there's a check on c3, which will win the rook if white tries to stop the pawn. Otherwise rook c1 is coming because the knight is protecting it. If white tries to play knight e3 to stop it, then you can kick it away with the other d pawn. See, double pawns are always bad. However, after king e2, if black's careless and plays rook c1, then rook b7 check followed by king takes pawn. So f3, and now after d2, there's nothing white can do to stop the pawn, and it is now just a matter of technique. If knight moves back, then d4 followed by rook c1 is killing, because it's with check. So then this happens. It's just a matter of technique. He's trying to get a perpetually, but it's never going to happen. My king just runs up the board. And now the checks are up, he doesn't resign. Instead, I'll just show you the last few moves just for interest. And he resigns here. He seems like the sort of opponent that will only resign like when they've run out of pieces. So he's noticed that I'm removing his rook by force now, and that's when he resigns. So while he's got like a piece on the board, he's always going to play on, even if it was like a bishop against 2 queens. Anyway, that result put me on 2 out of 3. That's the end of Saturday's games. I faced 2 games on Sunday, probably against 130 plus, and remembering I was 114 ECF at the time, so I would be the underdog. But the money's alive if I can win both games. Can I do it? If you haven't seen the blog, then you will not know whether I do it or not. So there'll be more vids coming out on the game soon. But for now, please can you subscribe to us and all that, and check out the website and leave any comments and thoughts. And thanks very much, and see you on YouTube. Bye for now.